We got some real life drama, and these are your stories. This one wants to be left no name. They did say shout me out, but then they did not leave a name for me to shout out. So buckle up. This is a doozy from when my ex left in 2019. First, let me say there were a lot of red flags out there, but I was too naive to notice them. So my ex and I were both 50, married 27 years with a 22-year-old daughter who had just moved out of state for her first real job 1 week prior to this happening. I had a horrible nightmare of my ex asking for divorce, calling me horrible names. I never had vivid nightmares that I remember that clearly. I told him about it and he laughed it off. Labor Day 2019, I got out of bed and he was sitting in the chair looking gray. I asked what was wrong. He said, "Your nightmare is true." I want a divorce. I am in shock. Why? 10,000 excuses later, he admits he found someone online via YouTube. YouTube dating? Oh my God, is that gonna be a new app? She is in Argentina. We are in the USA. He moved in with his mom and dad. I was not in good shape. I did threaten self-harm. No. My daughter, with tears in her eyes, she never cries, said, "Don't talk like that, Mom." That snapped me out of it. I have been in therapy since. Well, thank God. I'm glad you're still here, genuinely. So let's get on with the wacky behavior. He had already spoken to a lawyer who knew me. That lawyer didn't find out about the other women until my lawyer told me. His response? No wonder she is so mad. So 5 days after he left, he went to Argentina to meet this woman and spend the week with her. I went through chaos once he left. Common sense was gone. He stopped paying bills because he could. He left me with the house and all of the responsibility. Selling a house during a pandemic, never again. I repainted the entire upper floor alone. I cried for weeks that no one was on my side because he was allowed to literally get by with whatever he wanted to. How? He thought we would be divorced in 90 days. I was told by my lawyer 9 to 12 months. It was done in 10. Oh, thank God. I was able to finally sell the house for a lot less, but I was finally free to move on. He only lasted living with his mom and dad for 3 months because he was basically using them as a hotel. He kept making up that I am a victim of lies. I was just grateful to get rid of him and everything finally separated. Side note, divorce is a great way to clean house. I had dumpsters filled for weeks of stuff that no longer mattered, including my wedding dress. He saved it from the trash, according to his mom. He said that he felt our daughter would want it later. Why? It's poison now. See, in his eyes, we just grew apart. There was nothing that he did. He just said it was our time for us to move on. Why are you acting like you literally didn't have an affair? He just said it was time for us to move on, so we go on with life, and this is late 2020. Our daughter came home for Christmas and split the time between us. He comes to pick her up and take her back to the airport. He asks for gas money. You read that right. He asked his 22-year-old for gas money to take her to the airport. Turns out he had been fired, and that is why he needed the money. I found that out later by accident. He was fired a lot over the years, and I stood by him. This time, he was on his own and didn't have me working 40+ hours to make up the difference with him not working. So with the pandemic, he couldn't get back to her in Argentina for quite a while. Your little game plan didn't work out, did it? When he did, it was after he was fired and spent a month with her. In the meantime, I was hearing from people that he was on Facebook sites looking for women 25 to 35 because he needs someone younger. Another reason he told people he left me, that I was too old. Mind you, I was 4 months younger than him. If I'm old, you're old. What do you mean? The woman he left me for was 13 years younger than both of us. In April 2021, I got a call that there were wedding pictures on Facebook while talking to my daughter. I asked her what she wanted to do. She said, let's see how long it is before he calls and if he tells her the truth. She didn't hear from him for 5 months. In the meantime, since he hadn't found another job, he just decided to move to Argentina. He figured he would be gone in 6 months. It was 3 years. So when she heard from him, it was, well, I didn't say anything since you didn't approve. So he worked odd remote jobs and they ended up having a baby. He was 53. Oh my God. He was 53 when he had a newborn and a 25-year-old. Wow. 53 with a newborn. I'm 33 this year, and I'm like, yo, and a newborn at this age? I don't know about that. Literally. I asked later what the sense of having a baby was when he was basically living off credit cards and didn't have a stable job. Well, she wanted one. And since he wasn't steady working, he was asking every relative to sponsor his wife to come to the USA. I could have guessed that. Everyone refused. Me, in the meantime, I kept up with therapy and worked my butt off to move up in my company. Yes, you did. I was working very hard to pay off the divorce debt that I was left with. I just made the final payment of it last week. Oh my God, I wish we could just party. A nice divorce party. That'd be so fun. During Hydration Station, we rolled cheers to your divorce debt today. So that brings us to this past year. In April, he decides to come back. Move back in with his parents at 55 again, get a job and file bankruptcy because he has spent his entire 401k and maxed every credit card. Over 30k in debt when I fought and kept myself out of debt despite making a very low salary when he left. A month after he returned, I was oh my God, no. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Oh my God, the thought that one of you has breast cancer like destroys me inside. I'm not kidding. I'll cry. I had no intention to see him, but I needed to before I started treatment to get a lot off my heart and hoping he would step up and be a father to our child that he abandoned. As my child's other parent, I did update him on my treatment. Text only. I saw him that one time. Oh, and his wife was told not to have any contact with me or his child while he was there. I completed 20 weeks of chemotherapy and had a double mastectomy. I still have to do radiation, but I am doing well. We're gonna cheers to that too. I learned in these last few months that I am glad he is gone because if he would have been around, I would have worried about how this is affecting him. Instead, I was able to focus on myself. It has been a lot to do alone, but my daughter was here after the recovery from my surgery and was awesome. He never saw our daughter the entire time he was in the USA. He did try, but she ignored him. He just went back to Argentina in January of 2025. Oh, but before he went back to his wife and son, he decided to stop in Brazil because he needed a vacation. I haven't taken a vacation in over 5 years. Our daughter didn't have any desire to see him. She showed me the final text he sent her before he left. I said, "Is this the way he talks to you all the time?" She replied, "Yes." I said, "I get it now. I get why she doesn't care and wants nothing to do with him." When my ex left, I didn't have a great relationship with my daughter. Those high school and college years were rough. I couldn't say or do anything right. So when he left, I told my daughter he gave us a fresh start. That has been the biggest blessing. I have a good job who has been very understanding about my illness. I have kept all the bills paid and a roof over my head. I never had to file for bankruptcy, and I have my wonderful, beautiful daughter. All those nights I used to cry about karma. Karma did happen, but it took some time. The last I knew, he was trying to be a TikToker, 8,000 subscribers, and a YouTube star, under 1,000 subscribers. He's going back to living in public housing in Argentina, and I doubt that I will ever see him again. While I feel sad for my daughter, she has a happy life and is my biggest blessing. We have so much to cheers for in this happy ending. It really shows how strong you are. And sometimes you don't realize how strong you are until that's the only choice you have. You have no other choice but to be strong. You are one tough cookie. Next up, we got one from Skylar. I love that name. I think that's so cool. I once went on a date with a guy who was convinced that I liked bad boys and kept bringing it up at a Mexican restaurant he took me to. At one point, he said, "Is this bad enough for you?" And he took out the gum he was chewing and yeeted it across the restaurant. Whoa, that's insane. And yeeted it across the restaurant. I was so embarrassed once I realized what he was doing mid-throw. I had looked away, so I don't know where it went, but there weren't customers really over there, so I don't think it ended in a malicious way. Needless to say, there was not a second date. I think he confused bad with gross. Still funny to think about though, the audacity. Oh my God. Can you imagine what my facial expression would be if someone did that? You're gonna know how disgusted I am for the rest of that day. I wouldn't even be able to fake it. Next up, they want to be left anonymous. The video about toxic people you just did inspired me to share. So glad. This might be all over the place, so I apologize beforehand. I was friends with a girl for around 15 years. We will call her Emma. We were pretty much inseparable. I just wish I had realized much sooner that she actually hated me or was extremely jealous. I've always been very small. I'm still under 5 feet tall as an adult. Growing up, I was also very trim, always energetic, and was able to eat whatever I wanted. Honestly, I was jealous of those friends growing up. Very jealous, because I was not like that. Not that I was fat either, okay? I just wasn't like petite. Emma was a big girl, but I never cared much about that. In fact, I never even mentioned it until our first fight in high school. You called her fat? That will come into play later. Now that I'm older, I look back and realize how awful she was to me. Emma was jealous of me and did all that she could to make me feel badly about myself. Not just my physical appearance, but my character. I can count the number of times she would tell our other friends how I was a terrible friend and obnoxious. Emma would tell everyone I was a pathological liar so that no one would believe anything I said. Emma would concoct stories about how I made fun of her weight or made her feel bad about her body. Oh, she made that up. She would hold little things over my head for years. I don't remember now what exactly started it, but during our junior year of high school, we got into a nasty fight. It lasted about 2 weeks before we made up. I thought we shared friends, but I quickly discovered that Emma had alienated me from everyone in the group with her lies. I ended up hanging out with a bunch of male friends during the fight while she and the other girls teamed up. High school drama was the worst for that. All the cliques and stuff. Ugh. Throughout the fight, I shared nothing personal about her. I didn't call her names and I didn't poison the guys against her. We were just fighting. I didn't hate her until toward the end of the fight when I found out Emma and the other girls had been going around spreading horrible rumors about me. None of them are true, obviously. Like my not being a virgin. That I was a bony little bitch. They made fun of my small breasts. If it makes you feel any better, mine still haven't come in. So, said I had a big nose and that my squeaky voice was annoying, etc. The list goes on and on. It got so bad and I was so upset that when I saw them passing the halls, I screamed at Emma that she was a land whale and that I hated her guts. It was an awful thing to say. I knew that even then. Yeah. Not that the stuff they said was right either. I said it in anger and on the verge of tears. It must have scared her or something because the next day was when she reached out to make up. This was the first and only time until the end that I ever said anything like that to her. Over the years, Emma continued the same behaviors but got better at hiding it from me, all while saying what a good Christian she was. I'm of the mind that anyone who feels the need to say how good they are is full of crap. I had thought we were closer than ever. I told her all of my troubles and worries. I trusted her more than anyone. That was a huge mistake. 2 factors played a part in the downfall of our relationship, I believe. One was her ex-boyfriend from high school. Let's call him Arthur. Hey, what a wonderful kind of day when we can learn to walk in vain and get along with each. I want to watch that. Maybe I'll watch that show this weekend. Nothing to keep me young like some Arthur. Oh my god, no one cares, but their library card song was a bop. Having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card. And the other was the guy I had been head over heels for since middle school. Rudy. Now, around the time Arthur came back into the picture, Emma had also gotten engaged and then married. Arthur and I were friends, both before and after they had broken up. I was the reason they started talking again, but if I had known then what I found out later, I would have never encouraged them to be friends once more. During the same time period, she had gotten married and befriended Arthur again. I had been spending a lot of time with Rudy. I ended up losing my virginity to Rudy. I wish I had realized how we never hung out in front of my friends or his friends that spoke to mine. The only friends of his we hung out with were new ones or ones that no longer spoke to former classmates. There was only one friend from high school connected to everyone that we did go to the bar with. We also hung out with each other's families though. After my birthday 1 year ago, Rudy suddenly ghosted me. He spent the night. I walked him out the next afternoon, and that was the last time I ever spoke to him again. The months after proved how sneaky he was about keeping our relationship hush hush. Yeah, I mean, some of the signs were there. I missed my next 2 periods. You know where this is going. I was terrified for several reasons. My mother secretly bought me a pregnancy test. It was positive. Damn, you lost your virginity and got pregnant? Like all in one? I've tried reaching out to him, but got no response. I was heartbroken and afraid, so of course I reached out to my best friend. I thought Emma believed me. She comforted me, but now that I think about it, she remarked very little on the situation. That makes later issues clearer. I would later find out that she, in fact, didn't believe me at all, as Rudy had told everyone he hadn't seen me since we graduated and that I was crazy obsessed with him. Sir, that's not what you were saying when your P was in my V getting me pregnant.
Okay.
Emma trusted his words over mine. Why wouldn't she though? She was never really my friend. Even when I tried to offer proof later, she rejected it. I ended up having a miscarriage at 4 months. I'm so sorry. It broke me. I couldn't go to my best friend for comfort because she didn't believe me. Wench wasn't even convinced when I suddenly started to gain weight. I distanced myself from a lot of people, only really interacting with her and others through messages online and texts. That was the first crack leading to the break. It would be another year before the poo hit the fan the second time. Emma, Arthur, and myself had been hanging out a lot. Whenever Emma wasn't busy with work or her husband, then one day I found out that Emma was still speaking to and hanging out with Rudy. I was obviously upset and felt a bit betrayed, so I vented to Arthur about it, about how hurt it made me feel. A couple hours later, Emma contacts me and asks if I'm mad at her. I said no, because I wasn't. At no point did I ever tell Arthur that I was angry with Emma. However, she called me a liar and said something along the lines of only a terrible friend would behave like I do. Then she sends me a screenshot of a conversation between her and Arthur. In it, Arthur shared a screenshot of his own with Emma. One that conveniently cut out half of the conversation, and it made it look like I was mad at Emma. Why is Arthur so dramatic and sneaky? Then she makes a group chat with Arthur so that she can sort this out, which really just ends up being her guilt tripping me into apologizing for something I didn't do. I was feeling rather betrayed again by both of them. So I acted on emotion. Arthur used the same password for everything. Oh no, what did you do? We had been friends a long time at that point. He had given me access to things in the past. I noticed their messages were on Facebook, so I logged into his Facebook and decided to see what else they shared with one another. Boy, oh boy, it was both the revelation I needed and a terrible mistake. There, before my eyes, were weeks of messages, the bulk of them being about yours truly. Arthur lies to Emma and says that he and I had sex. Emma's saying she wasn't surprised because I was always a sleut. Sext type messages between the two of them and an entire conversation about her nipples. All of this while she was married. And you want to call somebody else a sleut. Emma tells Arthur about how I lied about being with Rudy, the pregnancy, etc. That the one friend who had seen us together would lie for me because I probably slept with him too. She had it in her mind that I'd slept with every single male friend we shared. Despite that crap he said about me and lying about sleeping with me, Arthur did give a rebuttal regarding the Rudy bit, as he had called me a couple of times while Rudy and I were together. Rudy had answered the phone. Emma dismissed that part and moved on though. I was shaking and felt like I could vomit as I sat there scrolling through all of it. Such nasty things were being said about me from two people I had been friends with for years. To this day, most of the messages are embedded into my mind, word for word. I decided that I didn't want to make a huge storm of it. I simply told her that I knew what she thought about me, I had saved screenshots of everything, and that I didn't want to be her friend anymore. Her response? She blocked me on everything, took to Facebook, and played the victim. Emma never said my name in her posts. She simply spoke of an awful friend who betrayed her and then blocked her instead of speaking to her. That this bad friend had lied about her, talked behind her back, and slept with her ex, basically claiming that I did all the things to her that she had actually done to me. You know, classic. Then she had the disgusting audacity to make comments about my miscarriage. I can't quote that here, it still makes me ill. That's awful. A few people figured out she might be talking about it and messaged me. telling me what a dirty person I was before they unfriended me. The ones smart enough to ask for both sides cut contact with her instead. One of them even said that she'd always known Emma was more my enemy than my friend. Unfortunately, around the same time, she filed for divorce from her husband for cheating. Whom do you think some people thought the ex I slept with was? She made no attempt to correct those people either. So people think you slept with her husband. Emma just used this as more confetti to her pity party. She lost her best friend and her husband within a couple of weeks. So that was the tale of my toxic ex-best friend. While I never again spoke to her or called her names to her face, she was the butt of many jokes for a while. I would run into a few mutual friends we still shared from time to time. Emma really hated me for a while, continuing to weave the web of lies about me, insisting that I was a loose woman. Funny enough, I haven't been with a man intimately since Rudy ghosted me. Yes, I am okay. Now thinking about it still hurts sometimes, and I wanted to vent about it. I made a lot of spiteful remarks here, but I truly wish her no ill will anymore. I hope she becomes a better person, and I hope she is less self-conscious and bitter. That she treats the friends she has now with more care. Wowzer. When you said toxic people, I didn't realize just how toxic. Ugh, that's tough. To be betrayed by all the people that are supposed to be closest to you. It's an awful feeling. Friendship breakups are not easy. I feel like they're underrated, to be honest, about how difficult they are. Grab your beverage, it's hydration station, and we are cheersing to her paying off her divorce debts and doing better and recovering from her cancer treatments. We are cheersing to you today. Cheers. Whole bottle of water done in the time I filmed my few videos. Hydration station works, people. Next story is coming from Alyssa. 12 years ago, I was part of a social friend group who met up a couple of times a month, and we went out to eat and have a good time. Anyone could be a member, so it was people of different ages and social status. It was mostly single people, and the majority of the men attending were too old for me. But it was nice meeting and talking to new people. Then one night, he came. He sat behind me at the restaurant, but there was something special about him, and his energy screamed at me. I was hyper aware of him, and I've never experienced anything like it. After the restaurant, the whole group went to the bar, and I started talking to him. We were from the same area and had a couple of the same interests. As the night continued and alcohol got a hold of me, I started flirting. For some context, that is very unlikely for me to even do, even today as a 45-year-old woman. I'm very insecure and shy when it comes to men in general, and I've never had a boyfriend. Someone did say something to me when I was a child that turned me insecure and all that crap. Oh, that makes me sad. Anyway, I was flirting my ass off, and nearing the end of the night, I simply whispered in his ear, "You dirty girl, Alyssa." So we took a taxi to my place since I lived closer. Back to my place, we sat on the couch and he had his head on my shoulder and I was stroking his head. Don't make the joke. He told me about his exes and that he had children with 2 of them. He didn't see them as much as he wanted, but he rented a small apartment in a basement and didn't have room for them to stay in. He hated living there. He told me about his last marriage and how beautiful the house and furniture was and how he wanted that again. He also told me that he didn't have any guy friends as they tended to be jealous of him and how he had so many friends that were girls. Then he started complaining about all the women that just wanted him for one thing. He was looking for something serious and was tired of all the women that tried to get in touch with him. Classic douchebag behavior, I know. Anyway, the night ended as you probably already have guessed, in my bed. The sex, in my humble opinion, was great, and he stayed the night. When he left, we exchanged numbers, and I seriously thought that maybe this was it. Spoiler, it was not. After that night, we texted and stayed in touch, and a new gathering with the group was coming around. The gathering was in a neighboring town, and since he lived in that town and I didn't know my way around, we decided I should come to him and we could walk together. He also had been talking to a different woman and had met up with her a couple of times. Oh, he really liked her and wanted to be upfront with me, so I didn't get my hopes up. I appreciated his honesty, and though I was sad, I hoped that we could be friends. He wanted that too. at the restaurant, and after a couple of drinks, we were flirting and he had his hand on my thigh. Our behavior caused others to think that we were dating, but we both declined. The night ended with me in his bed, and I was in love, or very, very smitten. We kept chatting and flirting over text messages while he was dating this other woman. Nothing more intimate happened between us. The next gathering with the group came around, and he and the other woman were going. They also had made it official on Facebook. They were very lovey-dovey with each other on Facebook, and I felt it was a little too much after knowing each other for just a couple of months. But hey, what do I know? At the beginning of the gathering, I tried to keep away from them, but I observed them. And if I didn't know any better, I would not have believed that they were a couple. No chemistry, and they did nothing to show that they were together. During the night, I ended up beside him, and we started flirting. Nothing serious, and his girlfriend didn't seem to mind. After that night, we didn't have much contact, just some sporadic text messages here and there. After being together with his girlfriend for just 2 months, he moved in with her. During this time, I went out to dinner with another man from the main group, and he told me that I should stay away from him and that he had slept with almost every woman in our group. He was a D-head, and should not be trusted. He would play the victim, and women fell for that right and left, me included. The relationship he was in didn't last. He was single for 2 seconds before he found a new one, and after a short time, he moved in with her too. That did not last either, and shortly after that, he was moving in with a new one. I lost count of how many he was in a relationship with over the years. I don't think I have enough fingers on my hands. What I realized during this time is how toxic he was. He would mock other men for what they were wearing, especially if the clothes were from a not so expensive store, while he wore more expensive clothes, and according to him, had good taste. And if I had owned my apartment, located nicely and with nice furniture, I believe he would have charmed me even more than he did and become my boyfriend. Not because of me, but because that I could offer more realistic things. So I consider myself lucky that I was living in a rented apartment with not so nice furniture and not a good paying job. I haven't seen or spoken to him in years. I had him on all my social media, but he deleted me. And I can't say I'm bothered about that. And by the way, he should see me now. I live in my own apartment. I have all new furniture and a decent paying job, plus a cat. And I don't need or want a man in my life. I'm very happy and content with my life, and I miss nothing. It's always a blessing in disguise. You just gotta get through it to look back on it and be like, oh, it makes sense. You know? A few of you guys have mentioned that the form is not working. That is because it is full. There are over 200 plus stories that I am trying to make my way through, so I will reopen it as I keep getting through more stories because I really want to try to get to everyone. So it's just on pause right now, but it's not over, I promise. Stay classy out there, stay sassy, and I'll see you tomorrow.